Joining us is Bismarck Rewani, CEO of Financial Derivatives, to give us his thoughts on this. Bismarck, this issue of the terrorism in the north is something that has dragged for a very long time. Now we're seeing the president, many people say boldly stepping up to say we need to contain this issue. It's called a state of emergency. Not the typical state of emergency because we still have the politicians in power, but your thoughts about what this could mean, especially the signal it's going to be sending to foreign investors.
Well, the signal is that you are trying to at least isolate and ring fence the problem. Yeah, they're trying to ring fence the problem. So the reality is that if you try to contain it, it helps than doing nothing. The do nothing approach doesn't do anything. What we are doing is now containing it, and then we say whether we can now deal with the fundamental economic issues, which is we need a Marshall Plan. Mali, for example, they're raising some money in Brussels today, 2 billion euros, to deal with the economic issues. The French have done the containment of the military situation, but then now the funding is there, the investment to create employment, create disposable income, and actually remove the underlying cause of anger, which is inequality and lack of opportunity.
Right. If I can just bring in Ayobe, a partner at Ogushola Shonibare Legal Practitioners, to get her thoughts. She's joining us on the line. Ayo, thank you so much for joining us. Your thoughts about the timing of this call, because a lot of people will always bring political sentiment into these things. We've heard a couple of governors speaking recently saying that there's no need to call a state of emergency. Now the president has called it. Your thoughts about the timing of this move and what it could mean for the region?
Well, I think that one should recognize that a lot of people have it in their mind that a state of emergency means the removal of the elected officers. Now that the president has shown by the state of emergency that he declared that that is not the case, then I think that we should put their comments in context. There was a lot of concern that if a state of emergency is declared, it will be as it was under Obasanjo, under President Obasanjo, the former president, where he removed the elected officers. But as we've seen, a state of emergency does not have to imply the removal of such officers. And I think that, I was listening to what Bismarck said about raising funds and so on. But I think that the first question to ask is the Nigerian state short of money that it can't run its own Marshall Plan? And I think that if we look at the silly ways that money is being spent in Nigeria, then the issue is not whether we can raise funds here or there. The issue is how do we apply the funds that we have? And are the elected officers in those states, that's the governors and the legislators, are they using their funds judiciously to create those jobs and opportunities? They can't say that they don't have any money or they don't have funds to make an effort. Right.
I just want to get your thoughts about where we are with this whole issue of terrorism in Nigeria. Do you think it has gone to the point where maybe some people may suggest it has even gone too far? This is something that we're probably going to have to live with for a very long time. Or do you think there are political solutions like we've seen in the Niger Delta, where we saw an amnesty program come into play, and of course that seemed to resolve the problems there?
Well, I think that the problem about the Niger Delta was that there was a clear economic issue, and that was what was driving it. So, of course, if the problem is that some of the people who took up arms, or rather who have been armed by the political class, as we were reminded by the former vice president, if they now took to living off the land by virtue of arms, then obviously money will solve their problem, because money was the issue that they went to fight about. But in the case of the current insurgency, it's not just money. Yes, we may say that the devil has found work for idle hands, in the sense that there aren't enough jobs, there aren't enough opportunities.
Right.
But you have basic things like locking up people's wives and children in the name of, in the name of fighting the insurgency. Now, so that to me, when one talks about amnesty, one has to understand there are many aspects to it. It's not just a matter of throwing money to the people who have taken up arms. I mean, people are making money by taking to kidnapping and all sorts of other ills, which and how much money does the Nigerian state that it would meet those kinds of demands? So we need to disaggregate and separate out what are the demands. Some of them are clearly negotiable, as I said, like you've locked up all my family and so on and so forth.
Right.
Others that the president should convert to Islam. Well, I mean,
Right. Okay.
Now,
Bismarck, do you
let me
want to
correct
respond to some of the points?
I want to correct one. What I alluded to about Mali doesn't have the money, they had to raise the money.
Yeah.
What I'm saying in the Marshall Plan is that we have to use our own money to deal with our own problem.
Right. So we need to bring the resources,
deploy resources and commit it to that problem. What you are seeing is, because there's been substantial underinvestment in that area, the result of it is a crisis which has now crystallized, and now we're having to contain it, and we are now calling it a real problem. Now, secondly, the Niger Delta problem you said has been resolved. It has not been resolved. What we are doing is papering over it. The Niger Delta problem is still boiling. There were some killings recently.
And it's still the same issue.
It's still the same issue about
right?
No, self-determination. The point is that criminal enterprise is more rewarding than legitimate pay. So there's a structural issue in the Niger Delta. In this other case, there's a complete deprivation. So we need to commit resources. Let me give you some statistics. 468,000 applicants for JAMB in Abia State. No, in Abia State, while only
entry exam for universities.
Universities, only 2,400 in Borno State. Look at the disparity. Less than 1% of the total number of applicants in Abia.
Certainly a different class of people in that
absolutely.
Part of the
so
country.
basically, there's commitment to education, there's resource deployment, there's a there needs to be a Marshall Plan to bring this area back to a level of equality.
Right.
Okay,
how close are we to? Oh, let me put it this way. Do you get the sense that this could be contained in the north? Because thankfully we haven't seen that many attacks in the south and central Nigeria.
It can be contained, but you can only contain it if you address the fundamental issues. That's what Ayo is talking about. You must deal with the fundamental issues. Both have to go simultaneously. Okay.
Right.